This was a watercolor I did a few years ago, actually. I think it was 2005, and I just did publish a little e-booklet on how I painted this painting and some of my other watercolor techniques on lulu.com, so I thought I would show the pictures on YouTube and talk a little about it. It's a very cool and kind of a quiet watercolor. You can see the final painting right here in this little preview, but I had one of my favorite little dragon plates and a beautiful orchid to lay on top of it, so I thought I'd paint it. First, usually I lay in the washes with just a very limited palette. I used ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and Windsor yellow. I don't think I used the gouache you can see in this photo, but a little bit of Payne's gray in some of the areas that were very deep burgundy, and you can see some of my favorite flats and rounds there. The first thing I did was just to lay in the shadows of the flower with a 1-inch flat. You can see where I did them in a very pale wash made of ultramarine, alizarin, and the yellow on dry paper. I used Arch's watercolor paper, all cotton. Up towards the upper right, you can see where the wash was modified with a little bit more yellow, so that it's not a flat wash, but has some variation in color. And I worked on those burgundy colors on the throat of the orchid with that same mixture with a little bit of Payne's gray added. And you can see the whole center of the orchid is done with more of a brownish color, which was basically those same 3 primaries. And I worked on the stem color too, just done in ultramarine with a little bit of yellow. And actually the china wash, where I laid down some of the local color of the china, was done in the same 3 primaries. This is a very limited palette painting as well. And when it was completely dry, those pale lavender colors that made up the shadows, I sketched in the designs of the china, just with a fine round, and I think I used ultramarine blue with just a touch of Payne's gray to darken it up and make a dark blue. This is kind of a fun part of the painting. I filled in the designs with ultramarine blue. I might have added, again, just a touch of Payne's gray to make it more navy color, and just kept on restating the darks and making sure that my washes were lively enough, with enough pinks and yellows just overlaid on some of the initial wash area, that it wasn't a boring painting. I hope you'll experiment with this very layered technique, and if you want to learn more about my art, check out SusanKennedy.com or look me up on Lulu. If you search for Susan Kennedy, you'll find all of my art demos and materials. Thanks for looking.